Hi, everybody. JB back again here with my next episode of Did You Ever Wonder? Today's topic is who are the Tidball brothers and the Lighton family? And this background photos of Evergreen Cemetery. If you're wondering, I think that's on the east side, about north central portion of the cemetery. Evergreen is one of our most historic cemeteries, and I could tell you, there's story after story here to tell. People like Edward Durrell Stone are buried here, the world famous architect, Senator J.W. Fulbright and his family. Adeline Blakely, as far as we know, the only Black person ever buried in Evergreen. There are just innumerable stories, but today I'm just going to do two. And I'm going to start with the Tidball brothers. Okay, so the Tidball brothers, I'm going to jump ahead here a little bit. To me, this is one of a pretty tragic story and pretty sad, is that these two brothers, Charles and Jack Tidball, died in World War I, and they died 8 days apart from each other. As you can see, perhaps on the gravestone, October 8, 1918, and October 16, 1918. And the way it always struck me is it must have been so painful for the parents to lose two sons so close together. Anyway, I will read this for you as we go through it. In memory of two brothers, sons of Charles M. and Mamie D. Tidball, who laid down their lives in defense of their country in the World War. You can see that was World War I, of course, the war to end all wars. So on the left side, we have Charles Brownhill Tidball of the United States Navy, who died near Saint-Nazaire, France on October 8, 1918. He was aged 22 years. Now notice that both the boys have Latin under there, and I'm going to butcher it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Hic Iace, which means here lies for Charles. That means he's buried here in Evergreen. And on the other side is his brother, Jack Dobie Tidball. That Dobie, by the way, is why his mom has the Mamie D. Tidball. That's her maiden name, which is a real common naming convention. Anyway, Jack Dobie Tidball of the U.S. Army, killed in the Battle of the Argonne, France, October 16, 1918, aged 28 years, in Gallia Iace, which means he lies in France. It means he is buried in an American cemetery in France, a war cemetery. And now that bottom part says, greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. But anyway, I always thought this was like a kind of a powerful, a sad story. And we go near them, in fact, just to the left of them, the parents, and their parents and their little sister there in Evergreen. The mom and dad were Charles Martin Tidball and Mamie Dobie Tidball. Charles Martin Tidball was a Presbyterian pastoral reverend. And the sister I want to mention just briefly is Virginia Tidball. She would have been 14 when the brothers died, which would be kind of pretty traumatic for her probably. That resurgence means I will rise again. And we have a quote from the Bible, she kept the faith, Timothy 2, 4, 7. Anyway, the other thing, she was an educator all her life. And I just want, the ladies had really long lives. She lived to be 98 years old, if you look at the dates, 1904 to 2002. So that's kind of a positive thing. She had a long, productive life. And that things keep slipping around. I'm having trouble moving my cursor. Sorry about that. Okay, so I want to talk about the Lighton family. I mentioned them in that first video. They were close friends with Will Rogers stuff and one of my favorite families here. This is their family plot in Evergreen. It's kind of in the southwest area, if you will. And I'll just tell you who these are as we go across, and the dates will be later. See what I mean? This thing is very jumpy today. Anyway, Betty Lighton, who passed away in 2007, is here on the left, the first one. I just missed knowing her, which I'm really sorry I didn't get to meet her. It would have been so wonderful. This one you can't read, but that's William Ream Lighton. That's the father. This is the next one over to the right is Laura McMakin Lighton. That's the mom. And the one over here on the right is Suzanne Charlton Lighton. Her nickname was Peggy Sue. They tend to nickname everybody. So that's their plot, family plot. Okay, now we're going to kind of go through the Lightons a little bit. Here's Will and Bud. You can see Bud's the younger son there in the back. Will is the older man in the front. The Lightons moved to Fayetteville in 1908 from Nebraska, part of the Back to the Land movement. They bought a farm right here called Happy Hollow Farm. You can still hear about it today, see things named after it. And he was a writer. And somewhere about the end of World War I, he sold his Billy Fortune stories to Hollywood. As I mentioned in my previous episode, the fourth movie made by Will Rogers, Water, Water Everywhere, was based on Mr. Lighton's Billy Fortune stories. Unfortunately, he passed away early in 1923 at the age of 57. And the family, after he passed away, the family, except Bud, all came back to live in Fayetteville. The next person I talk about is Betty Lighton. This is a picture of Christmas from 1928. Betty came back and then she went off to school and had a career in the Red Cross and other social welfare organizations, coming back to Fayetteville in 1964. She was a leader in social service work here and established the Ozark Guidance Center. In 1997, she received the Distinguished Citizen Award from the Washington County Historical Society. So there's a strong connection there. And if this jumpy thing don't stop that, sorry. Okay, here's Louis Duryea, Bud Lighton. And I'm just going to let you check out the woman with him there. He's a pilot. And look who he's there with. It's amazing. That's Amelia Earhart. How cool is that? Anyway, so Bud, when their dad passed away and the family moved back, Bud stayed in Hollywood. And he became really successful. If you go to IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, and check out his credits, he has like 75 plus credits. During the silent era, almost all his credits are as a writer. After the talkies come in, he becomes a producer, which is where the big money is, and he has almost the same number of credits on that side. Probably the most famous movie he produced, you might have heard of, was A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. Anyway, he and his wife Hope Loring used to work together and produce together and write together. They had a home in Mallorca, Spain, and Bud died in his over, I think, there. And anyway, his ashes were scattered in the Atlantic. And then the last person over here in the family I've got pictures of, this is Suzanne Chalfont, Peggy Sue. She was, as far as I understand it, she was the very first female lawyer in all of Northwest Arkansas. At one point, she was a lawyer for Charles Morrow Wilson, who I've also written about, who was a very difficult person. They ended up breaking apart. But back in the day, she was the president of the Will Rogers for President Club. I don't know whether that was tongue in cheek or because they loved him so much or whatever. And then one personal note I find amusing is that she was actually the divorce lawyer for my sister. Okay, and then just another word about Laura McMakin Light. Remember in the first episode, if you saw it, she's the lady that saved the Esplanade and Arkansas Avenue and maybe Arkansas Avenue itself, and probably put up the plaque for Will Rogers. The older sister, Dorothy Lightenbenton, doesn't seem to get much press. I think she just lived a kind of a normal life. The Lightens were very active people and very successful, but so was she. She was just more domestic. She married a guy named Sidney Benton, and you can see her dates there. And this jumpy thing. And that, folks, I'm trying to keep these nice and short. That was episode 2 of Did You Ever Wonder Who Are the Tidball Brothers and the Lighton Family? A little information from Evergreen Cemetery. I want to thank you for listening and watching and your patience. As I always say, be safe and healthy. And until the next time, we'll see you then. Goodbye.